There you go. We closing the door so we can hear everybody in it. There you go.
Good evening out there. How you guys doing?
Hey,
It's
doing
Mike
well,
Milton.
doing well.
It's Mike Milton back in the Spotlight Podcast live, and we got a great one tonight. Episode 49. No other than the legendary coach, Reg Murray. What's up, Reg? How you doing tonight, brother?
Hey, Mike, I'm doing wonderful, Mike. Everything's good, man. Blessed
Man,
and everything else.
this is truly a blessing for you coming on, Coach. I know we was trying to put this together for a while, and we finally getting it done. I'm about to try to say this to your, move this over to your Facebook so we could be on your page too while we doing this. Give me a second.
Hey, man. Thank you, Mike. Thank you.
Indeed. Hold on. All right, we good. So, Coach, man, we're going to get at it because we got a lot to talk about tonight going through your career.
Do we?
All right, so let's get at it early, man. Let's talk about growing up in Trenton, New Jersey. How was it, Coach?
Well, growing up in Trenton, New Jersey was exciting. It was an adventure. It was something that was needed to be done. I had many times to move to Lawrence, Ewing, to other places or whatever when I graduated from Seton Hall University. But coming back home, I felt the need that I needed to come back and give back to the people who sent me to Seton Hall.
I like that, Coach. I like that, Coach. And before you got to Seton Hall, let's talk about Mr. Hoagland at Junior 1.
Oh, man.
Take me there to that moment that you was introduced to him and he put the rock in your hand, and just take me there, Coach.
Well, Mr. Hoagland was he was John Wooden of basketball in the sense that he was one of the outstanding people in middle school basketball. And when you went to Junior 1, it was a thing that, you know, to be on the basketball team, I had to be on the basketball team. But what happened was Hoagland had a JV team, as I would call it, down in Junior 4 called Delellis. And that's where you, as a 6th grader, 7th grader, had to go down there and play every Saturday morning and everything else down there. Then you could come to try out at Junior 1.
Wow. That's dope, man. And then you went there, and then your next stop, Trenton High School. Come on, Coach. Talk to me about your playing days at Trenton Central High School, Coach.
They talk about Trenton and they talk about basketball players and everything else or whatever, but that picture that you're showing now has some of the players that were unbelievable in Trenton. When I tried out for Trenton High School, we had Lou Hill, John Womack, Harry Mason, all the great players that the people at Trenton have not forgotten, but they just don't know about them. And the shame of it is when I watch your podcast a couple times or whatever, and you were naming players, and I think the Downing brothers was on and naming players or whatever. You forgot about Connie White. Connie White was a forward that played, that could probably jump out the gym. You know, T. Mason, Reggie White, Marco Dilla, all of us, all great players that were there.
What were some of your best memories playing at Trenton High, including some of the top teams you played against and things of that nature?
Well, some of the memories and everything else was the teaching and learning that we got. Back in the day, you know, the coaches, Jim Slim, who was the head coach there at Trenton High School, and then the next following year, Fran Penshop became the head coach. These gentlemen didn't care about you playing basketball. They wanted to know, do you know how to play the game? Do you know about the game? And that's where I learned a whole bunch of my stuff from those guys, because I said to myself, you can play the game, but do you know why you're playing the game? And that hit hard when he said that before, because, you know, coming out of East Trenton, you know, everybody thought we could play basketball. Everybody thought that, you know, we were good and everything else or whatever. But the fact that he wanted to know why, you know, like when you were setting up a zone and everything else, you had to know why you were setting the zone up, because they were outside shooters, they couldn't shoot. They were inside shooters, they could drive and everything else. So he gave us the education, the basketball IQ part of basketball versus just going out there and playing basketball.
Indeed, man, indeed. So then you go off to Seton Hall, get your degree, graduated cum laude,
Yeah,
1977. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
that made my parents feel very well.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. When you was up there in South Orange, I mean, wrong one. When you was up there in South Orange, what was it like, man? And what was some of your memories of being on campus up there?
Well, Seton Hall that was an experience for me, because when I got to Seton Hall, my parents dropped me off on the doorsteps of Seton Hall University, and I sat there for a long period of time, and everybody kept getting, signed in, and I'm sitting there with my luggage and stuff, and they wouldn't let me get in. So then one lady finally came over to me and said, "Can I help you?" And I said, "Yes, my name is Reginald Murray, and I'm supposed to go to Seton Hall University." Well, if you look at the name Murray, that's Irish. So they thought that I was Irish, which was fun as anything. So then my track coach, John Moon, who I was a scholarship runner for them, came over and took care of everything that I had to get done. As far as the experience and everything else, unbelievable. If I could do it again, I'd go back and do it all over again.
Indeed, coach. Indeed, coach.
Yeah, because the teaching and learning and everything else we did down there, whether it was social or whether it was strictly, mental part or whatever, was unbelievable.
Now, coach, I know when I was in Keene, the parties was lit at Seton Hall. Was y'all partying back then, coach, or what?
Well, here's what happened. When I got to Seton Hall, there was no fraternity at the campus. And then there was one kid that was there named Rick Treadwell. He was on the track team. So all of us was running track since we were there. He gathered us all together and everything else and took us down to King College. And when he took us down there, we thought we were going to a party. So we freshmen in college, we all get dressed up. We fine. We going to see some honeys and everything else. And we get down there and he opens this door and we go in and these guys got on jeans and a white t-shirt and they standing in line. So we wonder what's going on, man? What's the music? What's going on? And he said, "Get in line." So we said, "Get in line." So that started the pledge period that we started at Seton Hall, and then we became a charter member at our own campus and everything else, and that's called Kappa Eta chapter.
Indeed. So now you return to Trenton, and you dove straight into it, man. Before we get to your actual high school coaching with the girls, you dove straight into the community and started doing basketball events and things of that nature, man. Let's talk about some of the stuff on your resume. Murray Traveling All-Stars, joint effort with John Belly. We got the Mayor's Classic at Garfield Park. Then we went on to Education Outweighs and More Summer League, Capital City AAU program, and Capital League Summer League. Some of those things came on later on, but let's talk about what made you want to dive in straight into it, and how was it working with your passion back then?
Well, it's funny because Al Jennings, the head track coach at Trenton Central High School, whatever, helped me start the Murray's Traveling All-Stars, because as track and field running at Trenton High School, we always went to meets. We always went somewhere so that we could show what we could do, when we could do it, and how we could do it. And when we came with that philosophy, I always wonder why every Saturday morning he had me up. We was going on the bus or going in the cars or going in the vehicles, and we always went somewhere and did well. So I said, well, hey, that's the same thing with my girls, because I said, if I start a program where, like a girl like Makima Ford or anybody else that could play, Erica Rickerson and a whole bunch of other names that I'm going to name later on, these young ladies were good in your backyard, but if you want to be good, let me see you jump the fence. And when they jumped the fence, that means we were up in Newark, we were up in Elizabeth, we were in New York, we were whatever, playing basketball.
So the joint effort thing, dig into a little bit of that because I know that was big. Y'all used to travel to Colorado and give us that experience.
Well, the joint effort was under the direction of John Bailey, who
Mm-hmm.
was my right arm and everything else, and he was like a mentor to me. And we would fly the top kids from the East Coast. And these wasn't just all Trenton kids. These was kids from, like, when I met Monica Johnson. You know,
Mm.
when Kima found out when we were playing down the arena downtown,
Mm-hmm.
and found out that they were related to each other. You know, after both of them having 29 points against each other, the game on the line with a couple of seconds, and we knew in the gym who was going to get the ball. You know, I didn't
Mm.
care if somebody else scored, but Monica Johnson wasn't going to score, so we put three players. We put three players on top so they could say, Murray, you left a girl open. I know, but guess what? Monica Johnson didn't beat us. So when we went to Colorado, this was the first time that some kids flew on an airplane, like Faith Murray, who went out there, Makima Ford, and all the other kids that went out and everything else. And it's an experience. It's getting away
Mm.
from Trenton and going somewhere else and showing your talent and showing what you can be. And that's all that we did with that.
Indeed, indeed. Now take us to the Merit Classic.
The
You
Mayor's
and
Classic, the Mayor's Classic was the how can I say the project of Gil Carter,
mm,
uh, Mr. Bailey across the
mm,
street, myself, and we would go down and close the park off and repaint it with ourselves and paint it, close it down for a week, paint the court, and then we would invite teams. From my connections with all the teams up in Newark and New York and different other places, I would bring those teams into Trenton to let Trenton people see how basketball from Shabazz High School, Patterson East
mm.
Side, and other great places that we would travel to with the Murray's Traveling All Stars, show these people how they play basketball. Now, when they came here to play and everything else in the Mayor's Classic, you saw unbelievable. One example was a team in the boys division. They had just won the national championship in California in AAU and everything else.
Mm,
They flew back to Philadelphia, caught a bus, and drove all the way to Garfield Avenue Park in Trenton.
mm.
And the thing about it, the coach was crazy because he said, you know, we got to be on time because you know how Murray is. And if you ain't on time, he going to move right ahead and keep the other game going on. So
Indeed,
it was
indeed,
funny as
indeed,
anything.
indeed. And then you hooked up with your good friend and legendary trainer Poppy Sanderson, the Education Outweighs and More Summer League. How did that link come together, and what was that experience like?
Well, Education Outweighs them all was a very big part of everything that I tried to do and I wanted to do and everything else. To thank Poppy ain't enough, you know,
Mm,
and most of the people in the city of Trenton wasn't enough. And when we
mm,
won those championships and everything else, that was probably for Poppy. That wasn't probably for me or the city or anything else. That was for all the hard work and everything else that he put forth to do. You know, he was in the locker rooms, he was at practice, he was everything, you know. And Poppy was one of the guys that was very instrumental in the fact that we won championships. Yes. And that's
indeed,
all we did.
indeed. Shout out to Poppy, man, because I got to keep it 100. When I started my basketball journey, I had a lot of pushback from
Uh,
that area, and he was one of the people that showed me so much love because he
oh,
saw my
absolutely.
grind. He saw me at the NBA, the high school NBA camp, the
Yeah.
NBA Players Association camp. I didn't even know he was a trainer there. I was down in Virginia scouting,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when I saw he was into that, and he saw me there every year. So he saw my grind, and he showed me mad love. You know what I mean? I need you to help me hook up that interview too, Coach. You
Oh,
know what I'm
no
saying?
problem.
I got to get him on here. I got to
No
get him on
problem.
here.
No problem.
I got
Hey,
to get him on here.
I
I
just
got to
left
get
you.
him on
He's
here.
like, hey man, you gonna be on TV or at 8 o'clock? Come on, man, get out the gym and whatever. Because
I got to talk to.
he's
I got to
rushing home
definitely
to
send him
try
there.
to get
Shout out
on.
to Poppy. Shout out to Poppy. So
Yeah.
then, Coach, you enter the coaching domain. I got Asia down here too. I'm about to bring her on. Um, you enter the coaching domain. I'm about to try to bring her on now. Hello? You good, Age? Can you hear us?
My dog.
We can't hear. We can't hear her. Tell her that she muted.
You muted.
Hey, Kima, text her and tell her that she muted, please. Coach, take us back to where the journey began, Coach. When you first got, how did you get the job, and what was your thoughts going into Trenton Central High School girls team? Like, take us back to all of that.
Well, here's what happens with that. Cosby Copeland was the principal at Trenton Central High School, the late Cosby Copeland. And I didn't find out that he was my cousin until later on down the years before I was getting ready to graduate. And I was a rotating elementary phys ed teacher. And what happened was one day he called for me to come over to the high school. So when I went over to the high school, I got dressed and he told me to put on a shirt, tie, suit, and anything else, whatever. So I was like, dang, I just graduated from Seton Hall and now they're getting ready to fire me, but whatever. So when I got there, I walked past the gym and I saw these girls all up on a rail. You know, at Trent High, we had the rails on the bleachers and everything. These girls are jumping off the rails and everything else. And I looked inside and I said, wow, what is this? And then I kept walking. And as I was walking further into the building, Copeland came and grabbed me by my shirt and said, come here. And you know how Cosby Copeland was. He grabbed me, walked me down to the gym and looked inside and said, hey, you want a job of teaching? I said, yes, sir. He said, well, then straighten this out. I said, well, Copeland, I never coached girls basketball, so I don't know anything to do. He said, you want to keep your job? You'll do it. And that's how I got started in the coaching. Wow. Yes.
So how was it when you first took over? How did you get the girls' attention, and what was your game plan going in at this new job? And how was the program before you took it over?
Well, here's the problem. It's not a program, and that's what I tell these coaches today and all the other players that I go see and everything else, that they have teams. Like I just finished watching Trenton High and everything else, whatever. And those 12 girls, they get together. That's our team for this year. And I don't know. We want to build a program. And what our program was that Kima might have been a senior, but I had a 9th grade girl and a 10th grade girl watching Kima, mimicking Kima, and doing everything that she do and everything else, or being the big girls like Asia and the twins and being like them. And then when the time came for their turn to come and be part of it, it just kept rotating. It was like a wheel that kept turning around and around. So I didn't want a team. My thing was a program where you're going to school, you're going to college, and you're doing the right things.
Indeed, Coach. And so you have everything going, you know what I mean? And where did you see the turning point?
Wow. The turning point is that picture you have right there. Pam Huntley, Tammy Clemens. Pam Huntley had a 29-point average. Tammy Clemens had a 26-point average. Matter of fact, the year when they were up in the senior year, they wanted to say, well, Murray, could you pick one of these two to be on all county team and everything else? And I said, I can't do that because one has 29 points, one has 26. I can't do that. So if you don't put both of them on, then there's no need of putting any one of them on. They go Lil Dent. I mean, these are some pictures you're showing that's unbelievable kids that can play basketball.
Okay, Coach, and you got it going, and the crew is good. And I read that you had the first team that made it to the States and all that kind of stuff. How was it when you finally made it to that point?
Well, it was an enjoyment for the people in the city of Trenton, okay? Because I think the 2002 team put Trenton on the map as far as basketball, as far as great kids. Forget that. And students. Let me put that part again. Say that in Chinese, Coach. Students. Because these kids came out with grades that was unbelievable. They knew me, okay? That means if I won't go into classes and I'm not doing the things I'm supposed to be doing and everything else, Murray is not going to be happy.
Mm.
Very simple. They knew that. We'll have a practice, and if a teacher came to the gym and said, so-and-so did not turn in her work or whatever, we would cut the practice and just make everybody go down the locker room, get their books and everything else, come upstairs, and I'd send my assistant coaches home, and that's what we would do. We have study hour right then and there.
Indeed,
So
indeed.
they knew it.
Indeed, Coach. And then I started noticing your program around the late 90s. When I went to school, you had Adrian Grant.
Ooh,
you had Olga and them. You had a
Ooh.
couple other players. Who were some of the players during that time that come to your memory and some of the big showdowns you had then?
Well, the players back in that day were great players. You're talking about Erica Rickerson. You're talking about Janae Brumby. You're talking about Crystal Green. You're talking about Tamika Covington. You're talking about, if you played basketball and you were a female, then you had to play under me. The coach that was just coaching Hikestown just now, that I just finished seeing, she said, yeah, I remember playing. I played against the Twins and everything else, and I played in your summer league. Her assistant coach, which is the JV coach, was standing there, and she was talking about, you remember me when I came down from East Brunswick with Coach Jackson and everything else. And I said, yeah, I remember you. You played so-and-so. She said, yeah, that was me too. So my attitude is not being, cocky and anything else or whatever. But if you played basketball and you was a female, you played under us somewhere, somehow.
Now, Coach, let's get to that crew. In 2002, y'all put together a memorable squad. How did this form, and when did you know that you might have something with this crew?
Well, this team started way before 2002. In the sense that I remember right off the top of my head when me and Charles Cook took a team up to New York City, and we played in this tournament where if you were a girls basketball team and you was tough, under Vinny Catazzaro, the coach of Christ the King, that he ran up there, we got invited to go play. So when we were up there playing, I think we lost the first game. I think Kima and the rest of them, instead of being serious, they jogged around a little bit and they lost. So they know me. I was like, well, hey, let's pack it up and let's go back to Trenton, because we didn't want to be involved in that tournament or whatever. So then when we played in that tournament, they ran to Cook and begged Cook, don't let Murray take us home, man. Keep us here, man, please, Cook. And so Cook came and talked to Lee and everything else. So we changed the idea and we stayed there and played. Quiet as it's kept, we beat some of the best teams on the East Coast that was in that tournament. And when we won, I still got the trophy somewhere around here or whatever, that we won that trophy in championship. When I knew we could win that, I knew we could win everything else. And in that summer when we played, we wound up coming back and working together, and the Twins and Asia and all of them did such an outstanding job. I mean, I've never seen Asia work as hard. She don't work that hard now, so I know. I know she was the dog.
They held it down.
Yeah, and then playing Crystal Langhorne in the championship game, Willenbrook was.
Yeah, we're gonna get there. We're gonna definitely get there.
Oh, yeah,
Coach,
Yeah.
what during the season? At what point during the regular season did it click? And did you bring all the squad together, or in the locker room, or how did it go when you told them we got a chance to do this?
Well, I never had to tell this team, they had a chance to do it or whatever. Because the players that was on this team, they were dogs. They were go-getters, They didn't care if they mom and dad was on the opposite team.
Yes.
They would smoke them.
Yes.
And then after they smoke them, they go back and say, okay, Mom, I'm back with you as your daughter. They were real diehard, get down. They would do whatever it takes to win a game, because the chemistry was there, unbelievable.
It was a family.
Because we would have practice at Trent High School, and then the late Leroy Eason called me
Oh
to
my
the
God.
West Ward and said, Murray, your girls down here playing some boys. And I said, we just finished basketball practice. They said, yeah, we down there beating these boys. So I come down there and they inside the West Ward shimmying and jamming, whatever. And I said, what y'all doing? They said, Coach, we trying to get some more lunch money. That's what we trying to do.
Let's get it in. Let's get it in.
It was hustlers, you know. So yeah, so when you got a hustler like Asia and the twins and Bakima and everybody else, whatever, and Darby, I forgot about this one. Sierra Darby,
Indeed.
young girl that was on this team that I made sure that everybody was so fundamentally sound that when she got the rebound, she didn't, take a step, didn't dribble or do anything else. She covered up the ball and bent over. Yep. And Poppy still to this day tells me that's what wins the game. You had a ninth grade girl that held the ball with all the seniors that you had and everything else, and she was the one to win the game.
Yes, she did.
Indeed. Now, Coach, I was along a ride on a couple of your runs with this squad, and it seemed like something used to happen after the Central Jersey game, South Jersey game, like y'all lost at the buzzer and this and that. But this year, when y'all beat the young girls in Marlboro, then y'all go down there and then y'all win that South Jersey game, and you knew now we about to go to the championship. Give me that feeling, and you girls could chime in if y'all want to too.
Here's what happened. First of all, I'm gonna tell you, I sat on the bench. The late Georgia Gorman said that he wanted to do, an interview on me because he wanted to write a story up about the girls winning that championship and everything else. And all I could do was sit there and just cry and bend over and not understand what we had just accomplished as a team. Because the thing is, you think about a team, good, but we were family. And being a family, we all did and took care of each other and looked out for each other, and we policed our own self. So by winning that game there, turned around and said very simple that we deserve this because we had been knocking on the door for 3 or 4 years in a row. And every time we went down there, it was always Apsigana who had the two twins down. Two outstanding players that were down there. Yep, Saraville was down there. So we only played those top-notch teams that we had to play in order to get to where we wanted to get, which was the championship.
So then y'all get to the state finals at the Dunn. We was in the building. The whole city was in the building. We've been thirsty for a state title since 1960 something. What's going through your head before this game start in the locker room?
Here's what happened. We ride the bus up there. My buses was always quiet. The only reason it was quiet was because of the fact that I wanted to see if I could hear anything that somebody was doing or whatever. And the bus was quiet. And when we got there, we went in the locker room and there was, changing, into the uniforms or whatever. And I came out and there was a game that was played before us. And I think it was Monica Johnson.
Yeah, they played.
Yeah, Monica Johnson was playing before us. And this guy that was in the bleachers above me said, "Hey man, she's the best girl in East Coast that played and everything else." And I looked at her, I said, "Well, you stay here to the next game and you're gonna see the best girl." Like, well, who you talking about? Whatever. I said, "You'll see." And that's what happened in that game. So to look at that game where the twins did unbelievable job.
Makima gave them props. Makima gave them props for her interview.
I could not ask them to do nothing because the fact that they knew what they had to do to get it done. And when we won that game in Dunn's, you notice that you'll see Hal Beatty, who was our athletic director, and you'll see Mark Smith from Ewing Township, Moody Park League and everything. We all got together at half court and we all hugged each other saying, we got it done.
Yes.
Indeed, indeed. What was the
But the one thing that scared me was when they grabbed Kima and they lifted her up in the air. You know, one guy had her up in the air and they were running around with it. I was like, oh, we got some more to play. Don't do that.
He's running around with me on his shoulder. Donnie. It's Donnie. He coach. I think he coach at Thrive right now.
Now, yeah, I got that picture too. Now, like I said, it was a thirst for a state championship. You as a coach, you've been to the tournament, the state tournament many times, couldn't get it done, and now you finally won the first basketball state title in Trenton since 1961. How are you feeling at that moment?
Relieved. Because of all the hard work and the tears, the crying, the blood, sweat, and tears, and everything else that we left it. We were going to leave everything that we did on that court. We left there whether we won or lost. We wanted to make sure that every player left that part on the floor. And that's what happened.
How was the ride home?
The ride home started with Makima Ford. No, let me tell you, Mike, this is crazy, Mike. We come out the locker room. First of all, I gotta tell you what happened before we go in there. We get ready to go into the Meadowlands and everything else, whatever, and the bus goes straight and then it goes down under the hill. And it looks like the ground opens up and then the bus drives down. So the kids are like, oh my God, look at this bus, look at this. So when we get underneath, we take all our equipment out and you put it in a straight line. And then the dogs,
they had a little detective.
Yeah,
no, you're talking about the Meadowlands. Yeah. You're talking about the Meadowlands. I'm talking about the ride home from the Dunn Center on your way back home, knowing y'all just won the state title.
No, Marson. The ride home, they'll probably tell you, was unbelievable. Okay, in the sense that the relief that the people in Trenton could now go back to Trenton, lift everybody I saw in Trenton that was walking around that was bent over, they were standing up straight, walking around the whole city, because I was like, they proud, like them girls, them Lady Tornadoes, that's my girls and everything else.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed. So now you got everything going on, and it's time. You know that you're in the tournament and champions. First, I want to talk about is I heard the banquet food is crazy. Y'all gotta take me to the pre-TOC banquet. I ain't never get a chance to go in there, but I heard from my boy that food is crazy.
You got the three people that could tell you about the food, okay? Because
food's good.
Not only meeting Willis Reed that was there and a couple other speakers that was there, that was making history. The fact that you were there with them people. But then when we were sitting there eating, you know, twins she's sneaking her second or third plate. Makima trying to watch out for me to make sure that and everything else. Yeah. So the food part was gorgeous.
Yeah, nice.
You know,
well seasoned.
They put out everything that you could want.
Now, you girls just won the state title, the first one in all those years. You still got another mission going. How do you keep them from being complacent and keep them focused on understanding that we got more work to do? Because that's a big accomplishment. You know what I'm saying? You walking around, you floating for a couple of days because you did something nobody ever did before.
Yeah.
How do you get them refocused like the job is not over yet?
You know what's funny, Mike? I got it done soon as I got back into the parking lot of Trenton Central High School. When we got back, they all in their dresses and earrings and looking good. And you know what I told them, Mike? Y'all got 10 minutes to get dressed and be upstairs on the floor. And they looked at me like, wait, coach, I got high heels and all that. You better find some sneakers.
It's over with.
We got practice.
Celebration over.
Celebration was over. Like Kima said, celebration's over with. Let's get busy. You know,
and y'all go there. Y'all ain't had a top seed, so y'all had to go through. Nah, I think y'all might have got a bye. Did y'all get a bye the first round?
We had the top seed, And Georgia Gorman was on the committee, and he said, Reg, if you the top seed, you're gonna get 2 or 3 buys before you play.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I don't know if you want that or not or whatever. And my attitude was, I tried to teach the kids all year long that guess what? We had 25 scrimmages. And they're like, what do you mean on your schedule? And they think, no, 25 scrimmages, which means every time we played a game, whether we played Notre Dame, Hightstown, Steiner, anybody we played, we had to learn something from them. We had to learn something from that game and then come back.
Smart.
Okay.
Smart.
And then when we learned something, we would keep it in our back pocket so that then when we get to the games that really counted, because I only believe that coaching only took me 5 games. That state tournament and tournament champions, and then I was done. So we believe that if we did our homework back then, we're gonna be good when they give us the test. And that's what happened.
And y'all had to knock off Rumson Fairhaven that had that girl Fisher. Oh, I remember that game. I was in the building for that. She was nice. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Once y'all got that win and you knew it was the championship and y'all had to go to the Meadowlands, what's your mindset then?
Well, here's what happened. The Meadowlands, I knew, had that big drop in the back of each basket.
Depth perception.
And kids was always looking at shooting with a backdrop, whether it was a wall or whether it was bleachers or something, whatever, but they always had that. And I knew then that would be a problem for great shooters and stuff like the Twins, Asia, and Kima and everything else, because their jump shot would be short because they would see nothing but space behind that. So by doing that and everything else, I made sure that I found a place. I think one time I even got a.
You got a gym.
I took a gym
with space
in the back of it and everything else. And then I had them work on that and everything else. So the 7 P's was piss poor preparation promotes piss poor performance, which means very simple. If I did not prepare my kids right, then it was my fault. And that was our slogan for the whole season. If my team won, I would sneak out the back door, and you had to talk to the players, you had to talk to the assistant coaches and everything else. If the team lost, I would send them out the back door, and my assistant coaches would go get the hot wings and the beer and everything else, and then I would stand there in front of Georgia Gorman or Red Birch or whoever, and I would say, I did not prepare the team right. It was my fault. That's why they lost. Well,
accountability.
With that great team right now, they only lost 1 game.
Yes.
And what was crazy about that, Mike, was the 1 game they lost, I still to this day take, because when Kima fell down and she hurt her butt bone or whatever you want to call it, and everything else, she tried to get back in the game. And I looked while she was walking by by the chairs, and I looked at my assistant coach, Ralph Funges, and I said, did you put her in? He said, no. I said, where you going? So then when I turned to Kima, I said, where you going, girl? She said, Coach, I got to get back in. They getting ready to beat us. And that's when Michelle Campbell and all that great team they had. And I said, Kima, this 1 game does not make our season.
We was up.
Indeed.
Yeah, we were up 7 and everything else, and they didn't mean. But I said, you know what? You mean more to me than this game means. Real simple. So I'm not going to waste you.
Indeed.
And that's why we lost that 1 game.
Take me to the day y'all in the parking lot and y'all got to drive up to the Meadowlands for this
high
game.
School parking lot? Oh,
yeah, Trenton High parking lot.
Hey,
take me to that, man. Take me to that day.
Parking lot. I know we be in the gym before we leave out, so we always huddling up in the gym. So we came outside and getting on the bus, and we looking like we looking like it's. I mean, when I tell you, I started to tear up because how packed it was. I'm like, yo, they all come to see us. The whole town coming. We deep like that. I felt that here, like, and I know Charlene and AJ, y'all probably felt the same way, but we felt that here, how the town was behind us, people was closing shops early. Like everybody was on the bandwagon. Like they was leaving work early. People ain't care about getting written up for work. Like, my mom, he had right up. Like, but the support we had, that was our sixth man. The crowd helped us huge. Like huge. That was a big support that we had.
Here's the thing, right? I don't know who did it, but somebody rented a charter bus.
Oh yeah,
for us to ride.
I was on one. I was on one of those buses. I want to thank whoever did it.
Larry said, "Don't walk it on that yellow bus."
Yeah,
and he said, "It ain't nothing gonna change, right?" So it was decent. It was overwhelming.
Now during this run, how did y'all used to feel when y'all used to hear those keys come out?
Oh, you know, it's time to pack it up. That's like, it's time to pack it up.
They knew the game was over. When they pulled the keys out, and you're talking about almost 1,000-something people.
Shout out to Joe Smith, six man.
We knew what was going on. You know, the fact that was happening. To go back real quick, Mike, here's the one story. I'm riding down East State Street, and I get to a red light, and the church that's down the street, I don't know what church it is, but the reverend that was in there was talking to the crowd, and I could hear him out my car door, and he was saying, okay, now, congregation and everything else, that the choir, we're going to sing 1 or 2 songs, and then I'm going to give you a quick word, and then we're going to get out of here because them Lady Tornadoes is playing at 12 o'clock. And I took that story back to Trenton High, and I said, hey, man, do you know that this dude is cutting church? Because the fact that he's trying to get on the turnpike to get to the game. And that's
man, he had to be in the building, man. He had to be in the building.
We had the town more than the boys did. I ain't even gonna lie.
Yeah.
That's fact.
Now, y'all had to win this title. Y'all had a task in front of y'all. Y'all was headed up there. Y'all was playing against Langhorne. I don't know, was she a senior that year?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, so the McDonald's All-American and
Willenboro,
Willenboro, it's a rivalry type thing. What's the game plan and what's your mindset when y'all step on that Meadowlands floor?
Well, the game plan started way before then, when WDAS had announcements and everybody listened to the radio station, and Willenboro kept putting announcements about how they're gonna beat Trenton.
Oh yes, Fat Man Scoop, rest his soul. He was on the radio.
Yeah. So that added fire to what we did in practices and everything else. Okay, that you gonna tell us. Now, people from Trenton that have family or somebody that lives in Willenboro was like, we from Trenton and Willenboro or whatever, and people from Willenboro that had people in Trenton, they was the same thing. So we was the same people, same family and everything else. So when we got to that game, it started at that dinner that you like to eat the food and everything else. Well, here's what happened. Kima was sitting there and Crystal was sitting on the other side, and they didn't think I heard it. And Crystal was trying to antagonize them, talking junk to Kima and everything else or whatever, and talking about what she gonna do and what she gonna do and all this other stuff, whatever. And Kima was, once again, educated and intelligent. She knew that she said, you know what? I would adhere to some of the things you say, and I would respond back to him. But the crazy man, Murray, sitting there, and I know that he is going to be more problems than you. So I'll deal with you at the game, and I'll deal with this right now.
So we're going to handle that on the court.
So we're going to handle that on the court. So my kids were all focused and knew exactly what to do, when to do it, and where to do it.
People try to pull us out of character,
and,
negative energies, but we stayed focused for the most part, and the chemistry and the love we had for one another, like we was like sisters outside movie theaters, going to houses together, like we always took together. No, seriously, we came to practice one day, all our nieces busted open. We went to a haunted house and stuff. And
now
29, we at the little. They said the little haunted place down 29. We all out there about to get hit by cars, and they came to practice the next day sore. Right, like what y'all was doing? We all looking all cutty, looking at me because I started it. Now we running laps. Man.
Now, them was the days.
Yeah.
Now, at what point did y'all know in this game that y'all had the game, and what was that feeling like?
Go ahead, Charlene.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think you did the layup. Remember the perfect layup?
Yeah.
We was only up by 2 or 3 at that time. But you can say it. Go ahead.
Yeah, so here's the thing about teams, right? Teams were coached to beat Kima. We were coached to beat teams.
Say that again.
Bars.
They didn't know we could go.
Bars.
So Will and Bro, they came there thinking that they're just going to
stop Kima.
It's going to be
Coach Murray prepared us to beat the whole team because they had shooters and Crystal.
Yes.
Right. So it was a point in the game. So I don't know what happened to rebound. Because it was 3 bigs.
Yep.
Whoever got the rebound, 2 bigs were going.
Do it down to you.
Yeah, Kima threw it down.
I threw it down to you.
And all season,
that was a turning point.
My whole basketball time at Trent High, I always worked on my jump stop. And I did that, right?
Yep.
Jump
and it
stop,
worked.
Crystal.
Because she tried to block everything.
Flying, and I don't know how much we were up by.
We was up by 3 at that time. You made it 5.
So
I shot the jump shot, made the 7 by the free throw line with the elbow. I remember this.
So we had Coach Murray called the timeout. He said if whoever shoot, you get the rebound, you pull it back out to Kingdom.
Yeah.
Somebody tried the ball, shot it, got her own rebound.
Oh yeah.
Put it
back up. Now I'm looking at this and I see Murray. I see Coach Murray on the floor. He's on the floor. It was just one of those things, right? And then she made the free throw.
Yes. And Mike, I didn't have a good game that game.
I know you told me on your interview.
I was 5 for 23. But I made 11 for 11 for free throw line. That's what made it
interview.
I now 11 for 11 free throw.
Now, as the go ahead, Coach. Go ahead, Coach.
But one of the things that she's pointing out and everything else is that when we went in the locker room at halftime, Kima's acting like crazy fool and going crazy, hitting lockers and everything. Go, I shouldn't be playing like this, whatever.
Crystal blocked my ball 7 times, man. I got her ass.
She had 7 block shots and everything else and all the other stuff, whatever. But I had to pull her aside and I said, very simple, Mike. Kima, you may have gotten us here, but it's our job to win the game.
Trust your teammates.
Trust your teammates. You can't win this game too. You got to do 1 or 2 things. You got to let us win the game because I told them as coaches and everything else or whatever, I may know one more thing than you did. Yep. See, every player that played for Trent High in 42 years, and it's a million of them, all knew that very simple. I knew one thing, because you great players and everything, but I may know one thing that you may not know. And if you let me do it, we might win the game. So there's times that players win games, and then there's times that the coach has to go win the game. And then when the coach go win the game, y'all still happy, and we still go.
Yep, and I was disciplined, Mike. So when he said it to me, it clicked in my head. Like, I can't, my shot off right now. Every time I'm going to the back, she blocking it. And I said, okay, I'm going to go to the back now, pump fake. And that's when I got to the free throw line with able to cut down free throw. But
smart.
Twins, Asia, Dark, they won that for us. Yes.
Like indeed. So as the final seconds is going down, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And the buzzer went off. How did y'all feel knowing y'all was the absolute #1 girls team in the state? Like I know you won the group.
No,
but you the absolute #1 girls team.
They don't even have no tournament champions no more.
Mike, here's what happened, Mike.
Go ahead, Coach.
This team won the county championship. Okay. This team won the sectional championship. This team won the state championship. This team won the tournament of champions championship. And they won the Christmas tournament. Yeah. So this team was 5 for 5. The only team they couldn't beat was the coaching staff because we didn't want to play them because we didn't want to take the loss.
We used to run your
need funds and nothing.
You want to make 100 free throws in a row.
Yeah.
So then y'all.
So that's the only game that they had lost that year. But the fact that, you know, Asian, let him go ahead so I can play Coach Murray so I can block his shot. That was not happening, Mike.
You play smart. And Mike, I would say one thing though, Mike. I don't think we was the best team that Murray ever had. I don't think we was the best team.
Well, we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to all that. Don't worry. We're gonna get to all that. We're gonna get to all that. Now, when y'all got back in the celebrations, let's talk about y'all took over the city for like a couple months. Let's talk about it, man. How was the celebration and how did y'all feel around the city of Trenton? Y'all had to feel like y'all was floating, but what was everything like? How was the parade like? Take me there.
Well, Mike, first of all, before we even get to that part, here's how crazy we was. We all got dressed. We on the bus. We getting ready to come home. I'm looking at one of my assistant coaches, Ralph Funches. I say, hey man, you got my dress jackets, because we were the best dressed coaching staff. You know,
Indeed.
When we play a game down in South Jersey or we playing somewhere else, whatever, the referees would come over and say, you know what? You guys are unbelievable. And I said, what do you mean? You talking about the players? He said, no, the coaches. Look at you. You got on ties, shirts, suits, and everything else. So what happened was I drove all the way from the Meadowlands to Trenton. Bill Clark and Mark Smith had to put me back in the car and drive me back to the Meadowlands where they were having the NBA game in order to get my sports jacket, because I had the team money in it and I had my identification in there and everything else or whatever. So they had to drive me back to the Meadowlands to get it to come back. So I missed the whole celebration and everything else that they had, because we were back on the turnpike going back up there to get my stuff and everything else come back. But as a whole and everything else, when we came back, I think they wanted to do I think Doug Palmer was the mayor, and they wanted to do a police escort to meet us out on the turnpike and everything else, and with the flashing lights and all that to bring us in, you know. We was going through the whole town.
Now take me to the parade and the celebration at City Hall.
You gotta capped off anything. They made me walk, Mike.
Asia on the mic right now. Go ahead, Asia.
Mike, be first. How do you make the coach walk? How do you make? They all up on. I think there was a white limousine that was there. There was what was it? Y'all had that you was riding in.
Oh, the float thing.
Yeah, they had floats and everything else or whatever.
We like this.
Me and Leroy were walking. I got a picture of it. We were walking in the whole street down East State Street with the flag that we had, the Lady Tornado flag, and everything else. And I'm just walking like this, saying, "Why my team lead me like this?"
That's dope.
And they all on the float right there. So that was my experience. Now their experience, Asia got a good one for you.
Go ahead, Asia.
Yeah, she got something to tell you about. Because she always the sneaky one.
How you felt on the boat, on the float? We was on the float. We was floating through the hood.
Y'all can hear me?
Yeah.
I ain't gonna even lie, like the parade was cool, but it was just that last game. That's where all my energy was still at. Like I was still in shock. Like, yo, we won everything. Like everything. So coming back to the town, it was like, all right, y'all was with us there. I feel y'all, but let's go take it back there. Like I left all that up there. I felt it here, but I left that up there. Like it was like, though, I appreciate them doing it for us, but my energy was still at the Meadowlands.
Wow.
Yeah, I was good.
Wow. It started before the parade. We had folks renting limos taking us to Maxine's.
Right.
I know y'all was chilling. Y'all was going on tours to all the schools. Y'all came to my elementary school. Y'all was going everywhere.
Yeah, signing autographs.
Yeah.
Like, we was like the neighborhood heroes.
I got the one picture right here, Mike, where we were down at city council or whatever, and this picture here where Kima was getting the award and everything else. If you look at that picture and you see how Michelle Campbell looking like, well, dang, they getting all the press and everything else, and we not getting nothing or whatever. Why they doing that or whatever? So her family was all looking like that and everything else. Everybody had to do something for us, Mike.
Yes.
There was a security guard that I thank 1,000 times named Kim Ross, who bought all of them sweatsuits. You know, when you got those pictures of the girls in them white sweatsuits standing there with the mayor and everything else.
We took it care of.
They took a collection and they all went and bought sweatsuits for them. So when they called me one day, Murray, this box for you. I said, give it to the girls. We opened it up and looked at it. They all had sweatsuits. They did parties for them. They did everything for them.
Indeed.
They were the queens of the city when we did it.
Yes. Indeed. And I want to thank you and you the young ladies for giving us a time, man. That was a march. That was a journey. Our city needed it. We was thirsty for some kind of success on the basketball court, and to just having a chance to witness that. You know what I mean? It's something that I'll never forget, taking those rides up and down those on the buses on the turnpike and just witnessing history, man. So take a bow, because y'all gonna go down as the best that ever did it. So now, Coach.
Yeah.
After that, you had a squad that went back to back 2007 and 2008. You know what I mean? You beat Patterson Eastside in 2007.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Y'all had that squad going, and then y'all get to the TOC again. And first, I can't take away from you winning another state title. How did it feel to win your second one?
Well, once again, it's not the team. There was no team at Trenton Central High School. It was a program. And I will preach that for 100 years until I pass away.
My bad, no disrespect. My bad. Your program. My bad.
We always have a program. That means soon as Makima left, the next person up was, guess who? The little one, her sister. Her sister was there. You have to take your sister's spot. And Tori Charles was there. She was. You got to take the twin spot. Centella, you got to take Asia's spot. So whatever. So the program continued to keep rolling, and the wheel kept turning and turning, and that's how you keep winning championships. When I was at the city hall and we was up there, you know, the Mayor Doug Palmer looked at me like I was crazy because I told him we wasn't finished. We gonna win another championship, and he's looking at me like, "Wait a minute, y'all just won one championship. Don't get cocky now, or whatever." And I looked at him and said, "No, we gonna win another one." We turned around and not only won the one in 2007, but then we turned around and we won again in 2008. And everybody looking like, "Well, wait a minute. We ain't going through no bars and stuff like beating up on bums and stuff playing teams. We played the best teams in the state. We had a game against what was it? We had a game against Chrysler King. And we're gonna play the number one team in the nation. They told us that we couldn't play because we had to play Nottingham in a CBC game. So crazy. I told them, I said, I'll play Nottingham tomorrow. It was Sunday. I'll get my girls together Sunday. We'll play them or whatever. It doesn't matter. But please let us play Christ the King. We're playing the number one team in the country. They would not let us play it because we had to play a CBC game.
That's craziness. Craziness. The game against, in the TOC, the game against University was a tough loss. You know what I mean? In overtime. Take me to that game, and do you feel that was the one that got away?
That game was crazy because I mean, whatever you could think could happen happened in that game. They go up, we go up, we go down, they go down. It was back and forth or whatever. There was the one play that went in the corner. The head coach of Patterson Eastside, my boy, he runs down and tells Centella, hold the ball and bend over. When she bends over, the girl from University walks up and falls down on the floor. The referee called a foul. And we said, foul on who? And he said, I got a foul on Central. I said, well, she's holding the ball bent over. How did she foul it? They couldn't explain to me. That's when they let them make foul shots and they won the game. Otherwise, we would have 2 goals. See the goal behind us? We'd have another goal behind us. Okay? And it was a shame because even in the second year when Leola Spotwood, she got injured and everything else, when we played Shabazz High School, what's the name? The coach at Shabazz High School said, don't you girls be happy because y'all think y'all beat Trenton. If Trenton had their players, Leola Spotwood and what's the name there, they would have blew us out of this gym. So they knew 2 other times that we played in the TOC, we would have won. So we would have been 3 for 3 for 3.
Indeed, coach. Indeed, coach. You kept it going and you had like the whole momentum going, man, and you accomplished many things. And one of the things you accomplished that everybody was proud of was the 500 wins, man.
Half of 1,000.
Take me there, coach. Take me there. Take me there, coach. Take me there and tell me what that was like, coach.
That right there was another set of great players. Mo Fields, once again, twins. We seem to be always picking them up.
3 sets of twins.
Yeah, we had 3 sets of twins, but the twins was there and everything else. And my wife, who I love and everything else, whatever, was there. And that moment, I thought that, guess what? You reach 500. Most high school coaches can get to 3, maybe 3.5, and they done. You already at 5, and you're still going. So why is this so special? Like you can see in that picture right there when I was just shaking my head saying, God is good, because of the fact that he allowed me to be on the bench for that many years and to coach that many great players in the season. And once again, when we finished that season and everything else, when I got 500 wins, who was it? Shelly Dearden over Ewing, John Simone at Notre Dame, and all the other great coaches that were in Mercer County, everything else, now turned around and put me up on the pedestal saying, you the man, you the GOAT, you're the man. Because to win 500 games in high school was unheard of. Because I got my schedule and I look on it and I see where John Simone was at 2-something, Shelly Dearden was at 280 something or whatever, and here you are at 500.
Put both their numbers together.
So then when I did that 500, I said, hey, you know what? Great accomplishment. But then when I got 600 wins.
Hold up, coach. We gotta celebrate. We gotta celebrate the 500, coach. We gotta celebrate the 500, coach.
Well, you see the people who doing the 500.
We gotta celebrate the 500, coach.
Wow, look at that. See, once again, that's the family. See how the family came around? That's family right there.
Indeed.
That's not a team, that's family. See, that's family.
Let's go.
Yeah. See, a team doesn't just do that. Family does that. They understand that that's not about me. That's about we. That's everybody. And see, Mike, the Reach Back program means a player may go through our program, but
Mm.
then she got to come back and reach and grab another younger player and bring them through.
Super
So
dope.
that's
I
why
love it.
when I sit at games and everything else or whatever, I see former players that are out there still watching the younger girls playing and everything else, trying to support, trying to help the kid out and everything else. Everything's not basketball. Some things where you live at in the house back in the day when Miller Homes was available, the Hodges sisters, Dale Hodges and Hope Hodges and everything else, they went through all kind of problems that was at their house and everything else, whatever. And we as coaches had to deal with them because they were part of the family.
Indeed,
I remember
indeed,
one
coach.
situation where Elizabeth had Christmas time and we were all sitting around or whatever, and one player asked another player, where you put your Christmas gifts at or whatever? She said, I put my Christmas gifts on the couch. I stopped practice right then and there, told my coaches, give me some money. We all got money. We went and bought a tree. We bought lights. We bought gifts and everything else. Knocked on her door, opened the door up, came in the house, put the tree up, lit it all up, put the gifts off the couch, put them under the tree and everything else, and said, have a Merry Christmas.
See, they don't talk about
Indeed,
that. They don't
coach.
talk about
Indeed,
stuff
coach.
like that.
Of course, people ain't coming with that.
Yeah, see,
People ain't coming
we
with
got
that.
so many stories about what we used to do with that they don't even know. See, they think, like even now, you do an outstanding job with this program and everything else, but the little things like we had one player that didn't eat, one player that lived in 6 houses in 7 days that I had to go get and everything else or whatever. I had the greatest player to play at Trenton High. Didn't have a ride to go to college for the interview. So what happens? What happens? Call me up. I said, good. I'll get there. I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I'll get there.
Yeah, my mom ain't drive.
I picked my foot up, threw in the truck. We drove all the way to New York City to Stony Brook University. Why? Because you had a meeting. We not missing that meeting. That's
all praises. All praises. You was doing God's work, there, brother. Now we can get to the point of you getting your 600 win. Talk to me about that moment and what was going on.
Well, the 600 win was what I used to say, and I still say it now. I could die 3 times, Mike, and come back, and nobody yet will get that.
I love it.
I've been saying that since God, like Twin just said, he's been saying that for whatever. And that's a true story, Mike. You know why? Because a coach today only hangs around or only deals with kids or whatever for about 100, 200 wins, 300 wins or whatever, and then I'm done. Because coaching changes are happening and everything else. I was in it for the long run, which means very simple. I could have still been on the bench and I still been sitting there coaching and everything else. And then one day I just killed over whatever. And then they go ahead and put a number through me and say, okay, well, he got 200 and 600, whatever. And then I'm done.
They cut you over, basketballs come out.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah, because
now, go ahead.
He's cracked me up saying, if you cut Murray open, he ain't going to bleed. Ball's going to come out and bounce on the floor.
Love it. I love it.
Basketball's going to come out. So if somebody shot me or somebody stabbed me or whatever, then guess what? After we pick all the balls up from when they fall, put them back in me and sew me back up, I'm ready to go.
Yes.
Coach, part of your journey and the work you did was making sure that these girls had secondary education. So I highlighted a couple of your girls. Of course, you have more than this on here, you know what I mean? So I just did something off the top of my head. And tell me, what did it mean to see these girls go to school? And I had to do some research, lady, to find y'all pictures and this and that and stuff, you know what I mean? But it's worth it, man. Just take me through those moments of knowing that after playing for you, these girls got opportunity to change their lives?
Well, Dale Hodges was unbelievable. That's why her uniform and everything else is hanging in the rafters of the high school and everything else. If you ever get to St. Joe's University and go inside the gymnasium, there is a statue of Dale Hodges right there on the side. And when you walk in, you look up and go, hey, that look like Dale. Yes, that is Dale. She's there and everything else. Pam Huntley, unbelievable. Pam Huntley, I still stay in contact. Once again, our family.
Is she a coach now, right?
Yeah, huh?
Yeah, she coach.
Yeah, she a coach. Yeah, when I was researching her, I saw that. Yeah.
But she was the beginning part and everything else, along with Olga Nazario, who started the program with the Tammy Clemens and everything else or whatever. And then when she said, I'm going to Old Dominion, because here's the thing that happens. Most of the time when kids got recruited, I can't say they were ashamed, but they did not want to have the interview at their house. So I would bring them over to my house and have the coach come and sit in the living room with my house and everything else, along with the kid, and then we would have the interview and everything else, and then they decide they wanted to go to school. Phelps twins, they went too far away from home. They went too far away from home. I told them I may dream about getting to Texas, but I can't get there for no game. You know.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
That's it. Stony Brook had one of the greatest coaches that ever coached high school basketball, Vinny Canizaro. He knew more basketball in his pocket than I knew, and every other coach knew all they like. And he, and God bless his soul and everything else, but he took Makima and took a gamble and said, I'll take her. Well, you know the story about her. She broke the records all up there. Did all
she had a dope interview, man. Thanks again, sis, for coming on. All the other stuff
that she ever did up there and everything else. And Centella Spotwood was the first recruit that Rider College ever did from Trenton High School to ever play for him. Yeah. So people don't know that she was there because me, Poppy, Al Jennings, Mr. P-Tac, across the street and everything else would all get together and go and be supporting her. And when we come in the gym, everybody be looking like, wow, who y'all coming to see? Centella Spotwood, man. That's who we coming to see. And that's the way we did it. But
all right, Coach, you were part of different organizations that have heavy impact on women's basketball, and one of them was WBCA. You was the rep. Break this down to me and tell me, as the rep, what was your responsibilities and stuff?
Well, here's what happened. I looked up one day, and God forbid her name again, Betty Jean, who was the vice president of WBCA, which is the Women's Basketball Coaches Association, decided that she wanted me because I was a journeyman. I was the spook who sat by the door to figure out what the people inside was doing and everything else or whatever to do it. So as the representative in section number 2, which was New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Maryland, I was in charge of all those 5 states, so that if a player or a coach from California, UCLA, USC, or whatever wanted to play over there, they would call me up, and then they would say, Murray, what's about this kid up here from Linden High School or whatever? And I would give them the 411 on these type of players and everything else. And then that would save them a trip because they only got 2 trips, remember? So now by only having 2 trips, I had to use that person that was the representative in those areas to do my homework for me and then decide if I want to use one of my trips out to that area to visit that girl because we're going to sign this girl or whatever, you know? So
that was smart. That was smart to even set that up. That was smart.
And the thing about that was I went to, 9 women's Final Fours. We did clinics. where one time I took your boy Poppy with me, and I took Poppy with me, and we were in the hotel, and I was getting dressed and everything else. He said, "Where you going?" I said, "I gotta go do a clinic, Pop." He said, "Go do a clinic." I said, "Yeah, we gotta go do a clinic." He said, "Well, can I come?" I said, "Yeah, come on." We went over to the big arena, and they gave me a Rawling sweatshirt, and then they clipped the microphone on the back of my pants and everything else to clip me on, and then I did it. The only thing I could talk about was what? Trenton High School basketball, because that's all I knew, Mike.
Indeed,
and by doing that, I showed them drills, I told them techniques, I told them the discipline and everything else, because one coach asked me, "Coach, what do you ever do to a player who misses practice and everything else or whatever?" And I told him, "Well, in my program, we don't have that." He said, "What do you mean you don't have that?" I said, "No, unless the kid has a legit reason or whatever, we have practice." Like tonight, I was telling one of the twins and everything else, I was saying, "Hey, if it's snowing outside and they ain't got school, what we supposed to do? Take vacation?" No, we was in the gym.
He gonna find a gym. The gym is a court. We in there.
Indeed.
Yeah.
All right, Coach. Now we about to get into. I pulled up a couple of your rivals, and I want to know your thoughts because I remember going to these games and checking it out. The first one I brought up was Ann DeMille and Notre Dame High School. Man, take me to what was the preparation for that, and what do you remember most about those games?
Well, once again, it was a scrimmage because we're gonna learn something from it. Whether we win or whether we lose, we're gonna learn something from it. Number two was the fact that she was a great rivalry because she always did the outstanding job with her team. She always had great players and everything else. Matter of fact, when the Campbell twins came through A and B, they were unbelievable players and stuff. Then she had guards that could play and everything else. Wexler and all the other kids that could play. So that was an experience where we're good in our backyard, but let's see how good we are in somebody else's backyard. And we would do that. The thing that got me the best at Notre Dame High School that we would do and everything else is that every time we came to the gym, the security guard, which was the old lady that stood at the door, would stand there and wait because she knew that I wanted you to see how, I guess she wanted to say how Trenton kids are supposed to be wild and crazy and everything. Our kids came in, stood at the door, and you wait till somebody invites you in. You never walk into somebody's gym, okay, and just go in and, sit down or whatever. We waited till somebody invited us in, and then we went inside the gym, and she saw how that was. And that's the second time that I've seen that because when we would go to Newark Summer League that we played in 1 year up there, we would get up there and the mayor would say, "See that team over there? Yeah. That coach has not gotten off the bleachers yet because that team is outstretching, warming up and everything else, and he hasn't said anything. Our kids come in 2 minutes before the game, and now I'm putting my sneakers on and I'm getting ready for the game. Which one of them teams do you think is going to be ready to play ball?"
Indeed, Coach. Indeed,
there
Coach.
You go.
Next up.
My boy.
Late Khalees Lewis L. and the TCA Lady Iron Mikes. Talk about that rivalry and what was the preparation and how it was when y'all used to lock up.
Okay. That was another great game. That was another great situation and everything else and all the other stuff. But people tried to put between me and Khalif as being enemies and everything else. Before he passed away, he saw me and my wife at Home Depot, and he came in and it was almost like a testimony that he was telling me before he passed away, and I didn't know it. But being that my wife is a pastor, she knew what he was saying. And he came up and he was saying, "Hey man, I'm sorry, man. I'm always and he was like pouring himself out, and I was like, what's going on, man?" And I didn't know it, and then a couple of days later he passed away and was gone. And that really made me feel a little bit, weird about it, because I was saying to myself, why did he go so soon? He shouldn't have. He shouldn't have never went so soon. There was great coach, great kid, and I liked him because he was like me.
Yeah,
he was competitive, and he put it in his kids to be competitive.
Indeed.
So if he's gonna play, I'm gonna play with the best kids I got, and I'm gonna do the best that I can do.
Indeed. Which brings me to my next question, Coach. It's been only 2 girls tournament and champions from Mercer County. The 2002 Lady Tornadoes and the 2011 TCA Lady Iron Mikes. In a 1-game situation, what would have happened, Coach?
We was winning. I told you already asked me.
I'm talking to Coach. I want to hear.
Why even ask that question?
Because the question needs to be asked. This is what this is about. It's only he's a competitor.
Here's what happened, Mike. And everybody said that before. Well, they had more players, and we only had 5, 6 players. Mike, here's the thing about it. You can't put our heart in a gym. You can't put our heart in a gym. So if we wanted to play a game, that would be a game that you would have to move it somewhere else because we couldn't get everybody in there to see the game play. Yes. Number 2 is we on our side knew that guess what? We're not going to lose the game. You got to beat us.
Indeed.
You have to beat us. And after being 30-1, we was not losing, Mike.
Not that year.
Not that year.
That's what my argument was, Coach. I said,
not that year.
I don't care who it was that year.
Yeah, I think Sleep.
Y'all was just in the zone.
I think they'll win. Sleep said it. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But y'all was in the zone.
Yeah.
We was too locked in.
No. When we had the big ceremony in the gym and the principal was there and the band was playing and everything else was going on and all this stuff, whatever, these kids was still looking for a game. You know, like, Coach, can we play some?
We cried when it was over.
Yeah, I mean, instead of being happy because you were 5 for 5, Mike, some kids don't even get to a tournament game. Some kids don't even know what the Tournament of Champions looks like, or all that stuff or whatever. They was 5 for 5, and I tried to tell them very simple. You are history. When they say trend history, when they write it down and they put people in and whatever, they're going to have to put them in there because they were Trenton. They represented Trenton to the utmost. When we went to games, they were proud because they had the Trenton name on their shirt. You didn't play the uniform. You played Trenton.
Indeed, Coach. Indeed.
And then don't get me wrong, Mike. That was a good team, but that year we was when I tell you we was so locked in.
Y'all was in the zone. Y'all was locked in. Y'all was in the zone.
We had to beat St. John Annie, Christ King that summer going into our senior year. We felt that it was up for anybody.
Indeed, I love that. Now, Coach.
Yeah.
We got to go to this moment, man. I remember in the morning getting a newspaper and seeing this article, and I didn't even understand what was going on, like what happened. But when this dropped, man, and they had to let you know that you was no longer the coach at the high school. Take me to this moment, man, and how did you find out, and what was going through your mind at that time?
Well, that situation or whatever, you know, Mike, it happens to. I mean, if it happened to the president of the United States, they would still try to figure out why did you get rid of Obama? You know, he's doing a great job and everything else. Why did you do that? When that happened in that situation or whatever, my lawyers, people, and everything else that was involved in it, whatever, checked it out, found out that they were totally wrong. That was the person who was envious, jealous, and did not want our family to keep going on and on and on. You know, when you win all the time, like you're going to do on your show all the time, somebody on the street is going to try to jeopardize your show, Mike. And then when they try to jeopardize your show or get you ousted from that show and they have somebody else sitting there, they will see how, number one, we're we top 5 in the state of New Jersey every year, or top 10 in the state every year. Every year. So now when you tell me a person who been there over that many years that all of a sudden they didn't put an application in. Wait a minute. Put the application in? What are you talking about? Because when I was over at Ewing, I was talking to Wandashire, and if he didn't do it, they would call him up, Wandashire. You coaching this year at Ewing or what? What's going on or whatever? And he would do it. They never did that. They had interviews down at the Board of Education, and next thing I know, Murray, you know they got a new coach? When? They just had interviews down this Board of Education. Nobody knew. So that was underhand, Mike. You know, that was underhanded.
So how was it the first day that you woke up and you wasn't the coach of Trenton High? Like, what's going through your mind? How does your life transform? Like, how do you move forward that first day when you woke up and the reality hit that I'm no longer the coach anymore?
Well, here's what happened, Mike. It wasn't more about me. It was about the kids. Because I knew what was happening with the kids. The kids were going rampage. The kids was going crazy. The kids was going, you know, whatever and everything else. And there was nobody there to be the leader to teach them or show them what was right and what was wrong any longer. So when that happened and everything else, then you turn around and my other good friend, Rich Roach over at Notre Dame High School, calls me up and says, Reg, it was wrongly what they did to you and anything else, whatever. I want you to come over here and coach with me. Because they wanted me to be in coaching. They didn't care where I was coaching at. I could have been coaching at Pee Wee High School. They didn't care. They wanted me back in coaching because they figured you needed to be in coaching, and that's what we needed to do.
Indeed. Now, did you have many more years left, or it just would have been better if you just left on your own terms? Did you have many more years of coaching left, you think?
Like, I'd say this because I say this to everybody else. Murray's going to coach until he dies. If there's 2 mosquitoes in a phone booth, you got one, I got one, let's get it on.
You like Coach Hurley, because I heard about him still going to like other high school coaches' practices with his book. Absolutely. Looking at their practice and taking notes and giving the coach notes. Then he'll go to somebody else practice. You just a basketball connoisseur, man.
Mike, I did that tonight, Mike, before I came on there with you. I did that then.
Wow.
I'm going to tell you, I was over there talking to this kid. Hightstown has a girl, 6'4". She's getting ready to go to Howard University and everything else. I was over there in her ear, and I was over there in the coach's ear. And by talking to the coach was like, well, could you come? Almost wanted to say, could you come out to Hightstown and work with this kid and everything? Whatever. Sweet. I said, Coach, whatever you want me to do. So Murray's gonna be a coach. Wow. I cannot. My little granddaughter was at Fisher Middle School, and I used to sit in the bleachers there and be coaching them, and they're like, "What is he doing there? Fisher Middle School coaching and everything?" He's gonna coach. My wife be like, "Shut up! Don't say nothing, you know, whatever." Because I'm gonna do it. It's in my blood.
Man. I love it, man. Yep. Now, next up, Coach, you're a Hall of Famer, man. State Hall of Fame, Mercer County Hall of Fame. Talk to me about these ceremonies and how did it feel being inducted to the State Hall of Fame and the County Hall of Fame, man?
Well, in 2008, I was privileged to have been nominated and then selected to be in the State Hall of Fame, which I figure is the biggest thing in your coaching profession that you can get when the state recognized you as one of their Hall of Fame. But what made me even more better was when your boy, Poppy Sanderson again, and he was an Eagle back then, Troy Benson. He left the Eagles, got dressed with Poppy, and they both drove up there. So when I got there, he was, being ramrodded by all the people that was like, "Oh, Troy Benson of the Eagles was here and everything." He said, "No, it's not about me. I'm here with my boy Murray, who I want to see get in the Hall of Fame and everything else." So I once again, I appreciate them two guys for helping me get there, along with my family that was there and everything else. All my daughters, my sons, everybody was there and everything else. That was unbelievable that day. My sister from Atlanta, Georgia, flew up and everything else, and it was just a family thing. Once again, I come from a family. That Hall of Fame thing, that meant so much to me that I couldn't even, if you was there, you knew what happened. I started my speech, I started talking or whatever, and God, let me say this again in Chinese, God got over me and just wiped me out.
He couldn't even finish his
praises.
Wiped me out, Mike.
You know, he could talk.
Oh, praises.
And they know me, I'll talk.
Yeah.
After a game, we went by 50 and I'm still talking.
Yep.
Hours later.
Gym 10 o'clock.
But I could not hold it because of when the people from your area recognize you to be in the Hall of Fame and everything else, that meant really more than the state one did. And when they put me in there, I was like, hey, I finally, came to pass to know that, somebody else recognized what you do is good.
Indeed, Coach, indeed.
Yes.
Which brings me to you in the State Hall of Fame, the County Hall of Fame. How didn't you get into the School Hall of Fame when they had
the team? Yes.
Well,
but they elected to bring your team in, but because I ain't gonna lie, Coach, I ain't gonna lie. I'm gonna let you spill, but let me cook for a second. When I first heard about this, I assumed that not only should you be in the Hall of Fame, but the new gym should be named after you. You're the only person when they was building this new school. I'm just assuming all of this is gonna take place. Because not only do you got 3 state titles, but you got a TOC. So then when they come with this Hall of Fame thing and you're not on the first thing, I'm like, that's like Duke opening the Hall of Fame and Coach K not in it.
Absolutely.
Talk to me, Coach.
Here's what happened, Mike. I got so many other coaches throughout the state that you would not realize or believe. And by talking to them guys, they all called me, trying to comfort me and understanding very simple what was going on and everything else. And the trainer made a statement one time, how do you put the team in, but you don't put the coach in? And I had to think about that for a second because I said to myself, every team that wins and everything else, the coach is a part of it. None of my coaching staff, my assistant coaches, Ralph Flungers, my other coaches was in there and everything else. None of us was in there. Okay. But then I look at it once again, like I did for 42 years. It's not about me. It's about we. It's about my family. So if my family is taken care of, then we taken care of. Matter of fact, the day that they put them in the Hall of Fame, I was out DJing and doing some music for junior high schools, making sure they was going on. And then when they all got there talking about, where Coach Murray? And they found out that I was not there.
We ain't know.
And because once again, the snake always slithers. I always know that snake slithers. Snake never gets up and walks straight to you or whatever. So when he said, very simple, did they drive themselves to the games? No. Bus driver. Did they coach their own team? No, the coach was there on the bench. He was the one that took over and said, okay, y'all got to leave for me. Now let me put my one thing in and we'll win the game. And when I put my one part in there, again, we win the game. So looking at the whole scenario and what they're doing and everything else, it's about who you know, when you know, how you know. You know that coming from Trenton and everything else.
I've seen it before, Coach. I interviewed Phil Colicchio. He's now at Elizabeth now.
Okay.
So he was at Linden, right?
Uh-huh.
Won like 3 state titles at Linden, or 5. No, 5, right?
Yeah.
They named the gym after him. Put his name on the floor and everything, right?
Yeah.
He goes over to Elizabeth, wins a couple state titles there, start beating Linden, and they took his name off the floor.
That's unheard of, Mike.
What?
Yeah.
All facts.
Yeah.
All facts. He talked about it on the podcast.
See, and that's where I look at it and say very simple. When you, how can I say, when you understand something and you know it's right, but you try to do the opposite, then God's gonna get you, not me. He's gonna get you for what you're doing wrong. You know it's wrong.
All facts.
So if you turn around and you're doing, like when I talked to Greg Grant, a great friend of mine and everything else, Greg said, man, ain't no way in H that gym is not supposed to be by you and all that stuff, whatever. I said, Greg, it doesn't bother me, okay? Because you know and I know what's right. You know what's right in my heart. I know what's right. So even if you go to a game and you will be the most winningest coach in 1,000 years from now, it seems like. But they still making you pay the money to get into a game.
All right, so that's crazy. That's crazy.
Guards and people standing there talking, you owe me $10. It does not bother me, Mike. Yeah, because you know it's wrong. See, the people know it's wrong. Athletic director know wrong. The people that was there know wrong and everything else. How do you have somebody who puts the school on the map, had the only, let me say this in Chinese again, Mike, the only parade in the city of Trenton and everything else. And not only did it one time, not only did it 2 times, not only did it 3 times, and not one boys team has gotten past 61, but in the gym, you have, let me see, you have no banners.
Yeah, we don't even know what we did.
I personally bought who scored 1,000 points. I personally bought all the sectional states, county championships to let people know. If you went to Trenton High and you was in the gym and you looked around, you wouldn't even think we had a girls team unless you saw the team that was playing. Wow. You would never know the history of Trenton High
is white.
Because I tried to let people not know about your program because, once again, jealousy, envious, and everything else, you can get to me. You can't hurt me. Because all you're going to do is cut me and balls are going to fall out of my body and I'm going to keep moving on. Because if water, just think about this, Mike, when water comes down a hill, it hits a rock, it finds a way to go around the rock, and then it keeps going.
Indeed.
That's what I think about it.
All right, Coach, let's take this home on a fun, positive note. Here we go. Give me your TCHS all-time starting 5. Now, y'all girls can chime in too. I don't care. Let's get at it. We about to have a little fun.
Ooh, he got shit. It's gonna be hard for him.
Your all-time starting 5, Coach.
85 years.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Mike, I thought about that because you're the second person that ever asked me. The late Georgia Gorman said, pick your starting 5 of Trenton High girls basketball. And I told him I couldn't do it. And I still couldn't possibly do it because I'm thinking about in each position, point guard, shooting guard, forward, centers, everything else, I couldn't do it. Because the fact that, very simple, when I look at guards, you pick it out real quick. I just wrote some names down. I got Pam Huntley. I got Janae Brumby. I got Tammy Clemens. I got Makima Ford. Right? And I left one more spot open. At the forward spot, I got Kenya Taylor. I got Centella Spotwood. I got Mo Fields. I got Erica Rickerson. I got Leola Spotwood. I got Asia Downey. I got twins. When I go to the center spot, I got Lakia Preston. Unbelievable. Yes. I got Crystal Green.
See, Coach, you know what I shouldn't have done? See, Coach, I usually don't send the questions out. You prepped, Coach. You prepped.
I
don't usually do that. Hey, Kiva, no, I ain't sent her no questions. We just went on and we went at. You prepped.
Look at him, Mike. Here you go. When I said Lakia Preston, then I said Crystal Green, then I said Bo Wright. Yeah, Lisa Boatwright. Yeah. Then I turned around and said Dale Hodges. Then I turned around and said Tori Charles. Then I turned around and said, oh, man, power forwards. Oh, man, you just saw the referee. That's one of yours.
Now, Kim, you know he prepped. He asked me for the questions too, and since he the OG, I usually don't send the questions. I usually don't send the questions, but I sent it to him. You know what I'm saying? Coach, you brought up something interesting and taking this on out. Why no boys title since 1961? What you think?
I got two thoughts, one professional and then one Murray's thoughts. Okay, the professional thought is that to get there, to win a state championship and anything else, you got to have discipline, you got to have structure, you got to have coaching and everything else, because of the fact that when you go there, these are the things that you have to rely on to win. Okay, when I won the tournament champions and the state championship, Greg Grant came to me and said, I could not find one thing that you did wrong in coaching. And this is a guy who was playing the NBA and everything else, said your timeouts were right on money. Your switching of defenses was right on the money. Everything that you did that game was right on the money and everything else. And then he said, and then you know what I reached in my pocket and I said, but if you don't have a little bit of luck, you're not gonna win it. Okay? So that's what happens on that side. Okay. On the other side is that you don't have a program. You got teams. So once I got teams, I'm already thinking about this team. I'm already thinking about that team. You know, Pup Dog doing an outstanding job. The other coach that they had, outstanding job or whatever. But when you go back and you look at, let me see, Jim Slim, Fran Pinshaw, Randy Morrison, who else? God, dog. They had 5 coaches. So the last game that we had at Trenton High School, when they, you know, before they tore it down and built the new one or whatever, they had this, and what's the name came over to me, Greg, and looked at me and said, we have 7 coaches. Everybody was a coach. Bill Clark, all the boys coaches was there. He said, what do you see that's problem in this? I said, nothing. What's the problem? He said, they got 7 boys coaches, 1 girls coach. And 1 girls coach was the guy that won all the titles and everything else. And they couldn't understand it.
So you think they ain't take the time or gives people a chance to put together a program?
To build, yeah.
That's part of it, yes. You know, you have, I mean, you started at kindergarten, I hope, to get to 12th grade to graduate. You know, I say that because some people skip grades now. They tell me that's a new thing that's going on. They skip them. Well, I want to keep my kid back to play another year. So you, so you're a senior, but you're gonna stay back another year or whatever. So now you wind up playing 13 years in high school basketball. You know, whatever. So I look at that situation and say, very simple. You know, coaches go out and try to do the best that they can possibly do. Every coach is not going to do, how can I say, I'm not good in rebounding. I'm not good in small drills. I'm not good in situations on defenses and timeouts and everything else. Every coach is not good in each one of those areas. But if you have, once again, your family, assistant coaches that are with you and everything else. In our program with our family, if the other 4 coaches that I had with me voted on something and I voted opposite, then the 4 won. And it wasn't even a problem with me. It was like, okay, y'all want to do this? Okay, good. This is what we're going to do. I have my whole practice plan in my hand. And they said, no, man, let's work on press breaks and let's do this and do that and everything else. So why? He said, you're the only coach that has 5 press breaks, 5 presses, 5. I mean, it was like going to college to play on our team because all the players had to know. So when you came to scout me, good, go ahead and scout me. Because what you thought that you was going to work on to get ready for us,
I'm doing something.
He already doing 3 other things different. And you get blowed out and you still thinking about this situation. So
do you think that we will see another girl or the first boy championship in our lifetime?
No. And I say that with nothing negative or whatever about it, but I see that they don't put the time and effort in like old coaches did. In the sense that basketball is year round. That means you got to play summer league, you got to play travel ball, you got to play the school system. Then after that, you got to play 2 or 3 other sports. Don't know. When I had my whole basketball team playing soccer, they looked at me.
I remember that.
They looked at me like a crazy. What the hell you got? Leona Spotwood playing soccer, and what you got? Ashley Hines playing goalie, and what you? Hey, kid has to do more than one sport in order to be successful in their main sport.
Indeed, coach. Coach.
That's what I always thought about. Real simple.
All right, coach.
Once you do that and everything else, then you're going to get to the area where these kids had pride about themselves as far as playing Lady Tornado. Everybody wanted to be a Lady Tornado. From the summer league when we had 6 teams with 15 players on the team. That's 150 something kids in the gym. And we had them coming from all over. One kid was a state champion cross country from Princeton. She missed her practice and everything else to come down to play in the summer league. And this is what told me, Mike, when I thought we had arrived. She said, the mother, I will come to Trenton at 8 o'clock and watch a summer league game. But I won't come to Trenton at 12 o'clock and have lunch with you.
Wow.
And I thought about that and I said, Poppy, what do you think she's talking about or whatever? And he said, well, if you have something of substance that they want and everything else, they will come.
Indeed. Coach, sometimes when we see things in black and white, it really hits the effect on the impact of it. You know what I'm saying? So I want you to just take a look at your legacy, man. 6 CVC titles, 4 Mercer County titles, 3 state titles, a TOC state title, 600 plus wins, the most wins in Mercer County history. What do you think about when you see yourself like that?
You need to pat yourself on the back. Like,
you know what I'm saying? Like, what do you like? What goes through your mind when you see that?
Mike, I think about all that stuff and everything else, but then I think about all the travel, all the contacts you have, all the other coaches who you associate with. You know, I got pictures and stuff. Me and Panhead Summit. I got pictures of me and Gino before these people became big time coaches and anything else or whatever at basketball clinics. I got pictures of who was the records coach back then?
Vivian Schrager.
No, before Vivian was there.
Not Pat.
Oh no.
No, I can't think of the name. But these people all are great coaches that if you sit around and talk to everybody and everything else, and I pick your brain, you pick my brain, you pick their. As you do that, you get educated in the game of basketball. Because even people used to boo and say, oh man, Murray, you shouldn't be doing this stuff and anything else. And I said, what do you mean? He said, you're holding the ball. I said, well, when we went down to South Jersey, South Jersey has the biggest conference of teams. They would hold the ball because there was no shot clock in the state of New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
So that means I hold the ball, and then you just got to foul me, and I'll go make some more foul shots, and I win the game.
All facts.
So now Murray sits around with these intelligent coaches and everything else and understands that, guess what? There's two parts of basketball. There's a part where I got enough points to win the game. Now the second part, which a lot of times the boys don't understand and know, is that I have to finish the game.
Mm.
And what is finishing the game? You're not playing me no longer. I might as well hit the horn and tell you you can leave. Get on the bus and leave. You're not playing me no more. You're playing the clock up on the top of the wall.
All facts. All facts.
We did the last thing we did was we played a Moody Park game,
Mm-hmm.
and there was the second half, 20 minutes. I had to hold the ball for 18 minutes without somebody fouling.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, why is Murray holding the ball for 18 minutes? Because we're working on something to get ready for the season. You can't win those state championships and all that stuff in summertime. Nobody does that. But
Indeed.
you can win it during your season. So if I work on it and my team understands that why we holding this ball, life and death situation, then we're going to win the game.
Indeed,
so
Coach.
When that situation comes again, we can win.
Indeed, Coach. So, Coach, I always sum it up finally with give me a situation that you feel God brought you through so you could be a testimony for other people.
Woo, that's going to be a heavy one right there. First of all, my wife, okay, because she's a pastor, and all the, my daughters and everything else, prophets and everything else, whatever. So that's around all the time. My helping out of my athletes, my players. Ema had a situation. She came to me crying and acting like whatever. My attitude was, okay, when you finish crying, let me deal with it and let's move on. Real simple.
Always.
So it ain't about you having a problem with, I got problem with money, I got problem with this, I got problem with this and all that. No. Tell me the problem. We straighten the problem out and we keep going. Why? Because that water comes down the hill, hits a rock, goes around the rock, and keeps going. So that ain't stopping us. Let's keep moving. So by doing that and everything else, situations come in your life. They're going to come all the time. But then how do you deal with them? That's a different story. I can be hard on this player, but then I got to back up and be, this is my buddy, be nice on this player. I got to tell Kima, I'm going to kill you. But then I got to go over to Spotwood or somebody and tell her, okay, so you want a soda? Okay, good. Here. See, so you have to treat people the way you want to be treated.
Indeed, Coach.
And once you do that, then everybody goes around. I'm not going to be crazy and say that the players don't talk or whatever, but you never see any one of my players and anybody leaving Trenton High gym and they say, oh, man, Murray this, man, Murray that, man, this, whatever. No, because they knew what happened. I remember the first day of tryouts, and this I'm giving you the truth. First day of tryouts, this little 9th grade girl coming in the gym, shaking bacon through the legs, behind the back, all through the leg and everything else. And I called Fundus and said, Fundus, who that? He said, oh, whatever. So we blew the whistle and I said, come here. What you doing? I'm getting it in, Coach. I'm getting it in. I said, well, okay. Why you doing that? You going outside the door and close the door. We had double session, 8 to 10, and then 1 to 3 or whatever it was. When we came back to second session, all the coaches driving in one car. We came back from eating. She's sitting on the end of the concrete. Telling me, Coach, can I talk to you? So why? Sure, you can talk to me. What's up? she said, I'm sorry what I did and everything else. Could you give me another chance and everything else or whatever? And I said, sure, as long as you understand, this is my gym. This is not the principal's gym. This is not the superintendent's gym. This is my gym. When you come to see a Trenton High practice and Murray was in there, I remember when we had a new principal came in and she came walking around the building, you know, with her Rontuan and everything else. Where she came into the gym, I guess she thought we were going to stop practice and do this. Poppy looked at her and said, he ain't paying attention to y'all. He practiced. My practice time was more important than anything else that you could have even said or done or whatever. And that came from Derek Hoagland. That came from Fran Pinchot. That came from Lenny Carmichael. That came from the people who were older and younger and taught me how to be a good coach.
Indeed, Coach. And Coach, when I first started coming up with this concept of doing this, it was certain interviews that I had to get done. And you was one of the ones that I knew I had to do. You know what I'm saying? So while we're here now, I definitely want to give you your flowers, man. You're truly a legend, brother.
Oh, hey.
And what you did is profound because you used the tools and everything that you had and made that team into what it needed to be made, and your other teams too. You ain't get to go hand pick all of your talent and bring them in. No. And you didn't lower your standards.
No.
You kept the standards where it was at, man. So I want you to understand that you're great, bro.
Thank you.
Don't ever forget that, man. And I appreciate that you gave the time to do this interview with me, man. Because she'll tell you when I interview her, I said, I got to get this done.
Right, yeah, you kept saying it, yeah. Mike, you the GOAT too. Don't forget that.
So I want to thank you for coming on, Coach, man. I'm gonna be putting up clips from this interview, and this is one of the best ones that I did, and I definitely appreciate the time, Coach.
Well, Mike, all I wanted people to know and understand and everything else is that, you know, Murray was a coach. When I go to games and I sit there and everything else, nobody never calls me Murray. Nobody never calls me Reggie. Nobody never does. There's a coach because they understand that's all I can do. So when that's happening and everything else, then you know you did your job good.
Indeed.
You know you did a good job when they're doing your title and they say, you are the coach. Tonight when we were sitting in the bleachers, the guy came up and he played for Pennington High School back in the day. And he came up and he told Twin, he said, what you did for me and the stories that he told me and what he did. And matter of fact, and this is how funny it was. He did not let me go to Trenton High. This boy wanted to go. Am I lying? He wanted to go to Trenton High, but he told him that there was a bigger picture of what you're going to do. He not only coached high school, he not only coached college now, he not only business-wise and everything else, and he's successful as crazy. And he still thanks me to this day. And I looked at him and just said, hey, I just did the right thing. That's the only thing you can do. The right thing.
All praise. All right, Coach, it was great. Tell your wife thanks for letting us borrow you for 2 hours, bro. Thank you, ladies, for sitting there with him. And this was raw, and this is one of the best ones I ever did, man. The GOAT is in the building. You know what I'm saying? And we got it done on In the Spotlight podcast.
Appreciate you, big bro.
All right, take care, guys. What's up?
See that behind me? That's everything. That's everything they did, not me.
Indeed, Coach.
I told him that a long time ago.
Indeed, Coach. Take a bow. Coach, take a bow.
Thank you.
All right, Mike.
All right. Yeah, that was a great interview, man. We had some fun, touched some good points, and went over his legacy, man, and the best that ever did it. And tune in next week as we bring in more special guests on In the Spotlight podcast. This is Mike. Enjoy the rest of your night. Shalom.